Let's take a look at some charts on Chainlink from this week's article on Brave New Coin. So I think most people vaguely understand what the idea of an oracle is, what oracles do, the functionality of Link as far as being a use case for DeFi. They have a ton of partnerships and will continue to have partnerships. This graphic is in the article if you want to look at each partnership. The danger here is that it's difficult to evaluate partnerships and versus use cases and actual stuff. I think ideally partnerships evolve into use cases and people using the token, the oracles, just a stronger community, more devs, better code, all that sort of stuff. But really what it comes down to for me, the most important thing for any token in the history of the world, look at Bezos. He sold 6 billion stock this year. Look at the Pfizer CEO. He sold 6 million in stock the same day they announced the coronavirus vaccine. It's all about supply demand. If there is a group, an entity, a whale who controls a significant portion of stock, of tokens, equity, and they are selling at a rate that is observable, that rate should be watched like a hawk, because if buying does not exceed that selling, price will go down. I don't care how many partnerships you have. I don't care how great the use case is. I don't care how robust DeFi has become. None of it matters. Absolutely none of it, because people are going to see that and they're going to start selling as well. They're going to start saying, you know what? Maybe this isn't justified at this point in time. Maybe it's appropriate to rotate out of this stock equity token. I think we're starting to see an emergence of that currently. Does that mean this can't go higher? Of course not. But to see Link increase their selling, and the Link people will say it's public, everyone knows about it, it's not a big deal, there's way more buying than selling, volume-wise it's nothing. Those are all justifications that mean absolutely nothing, because if buying does not exceed selling, price will go down. If selling continues unabated and buying does not keep up, price will go down. As a token holder and not a community member, I do not care about partnerships. All I care about is who is selling the pre-mine, and that's what this is. You can argue the semantics about mining versus Genesis coins, creating nothing out of thin air. They still have 25% of the tokens in circulation, and they're going to be selling them, it looks like, quicker and faster. Another argument I keep seeing from the bots, the Link bots on Twitter, is that they need this money to further business development and partnerships. That may be true. It might make a robust Link in the future. Again, don't care. The point is they're selling faster than they ever were, and they're going to continue to selling faster than they ever were, as far as I know. Should this decline, which it probably will because price will decline, then that changes the narrative. But it all comes down to supply and demand. The Link community will attack this position in this video should they see it, but as a Link trader, should you be that person, it is imperative to understand that these people have a lot more Link than you probably do, and they're going to sell. They don't care. They obviously want Link to succeed, but they're sitting on this unrealized profit. You can't use Link to pay your bills. You can't use Link to buy a house. So lots of people are looking at selling. As far as people in Smart Contract Limited, they might not say that publicly, but I guarantee you that's what this is all about. And again, they're going to justify it in all sorts of ways. It doesn't matter. Don't care, right? All that matters is how much are they selling? How fast are they selling? Is buying keeping up with that selling pressure? That's all. That's all that matters. Let's look at the transaction counts and the mean transaction sizes. So the transaction counts have declined like 70% since the highs. Mean transaction sizes have increased. So I'm guessing there's some sort of scaling solution or something in the background that I'm just not aware of, where the transaction amounts are being adjusted because of ETH fees potentially. I'm not exactly sure, but that's a potential solution that would cause the decline like this. Another part of this is just speculation declining, price declining in general. If we look at NVT and active addresses aren't at highs, but they're still holding near highs. Month-over-month increases in active addresses for anything in a vacuum is incredibly bullish, especially seeing 2 years of active addresses increasing. It's not a lot, 10K at the peak-ish. As a whole, it's not a lot of active addresses on a monthly basis. for, if you're just comparing coin to coin. So if this were to increase substantially more, I expect price to increase. NVT is near all-time lows. It's difficult to look at NVT seriously with pre-mined coins because there's a lot of movement related to selling of the pre-mine that will affect this. Not by a lot, but it'll affect this. It'll make it look better than it is. And just the nature of Link, this may just be unusable as a metric. But I'm still going to follow it and look at it month to month. But right now, in a vacuum, again, incredibly bullish. Active addresses rising, NVT falling, incredibly bullish. Looking at Google Trends, way down from the peak, much like the price all-time high, starting to rise again. So it's interesting that despite the selling increasing, price hasn't really taken a significant hit, especially when you compare it to the other DeFi stuff, which has sold off significantly over the past few months. All right, let's look at some technicals. We have the 50, the 200 EMA, yearly pivots, VPVR, volume, and RSI. So no bull or bear divs per se on RSI. There's probably a subtle bear div just on this range, getting higher highs in price, lower highs in RSI. So momentum is declining slightly, but I don't think that's anything to worry about. These peaks and troughs don't necessarily look organic to me. I don't know, it just looks really weird. Not that I'm just trying to continuously throw shade at Link, but it just doesn't look like normal market activity. Maybe, I don't know, maybe there's some wave count here or something. It just looks weird. It's definitely in a tight range, a tight channel. On lower time frames, you can look at that further. It's still above the R5 yearly pivot, which is kind of crazy. It bounced on the 200-day EMA back in October. But man, what a ride it's been since March 2020 this year. Up significantly. So trend-wise, it still looks great. If we look at the cloud is flipping bullish for the first time since August. So overall, everything looks really good from a trend perspective on the cloud as well. You're waiting on the bullish Kumo twist, much like you were here. This had a Kumo breakout. It kept rising slightly. Then it got the Kumo twist, and it was kind of off to the races from there. That's the ideal situation because that gives you a entry that's easy and you can haunt it and stalk it and wait for it. Something like this where you get the Kumo twist basically at the top, like here the daily was clearly too slow for these settings. I suspect, just like as was the case for this breakout, the current breakout, so these settings, this time frame, will be really good for a trade setup on Link. Looking at Link BTC on the daily, a really great pitchfork again, has held above the 200 even recently, is in the median line of the pitchfork. So it's basically where it should be as far as trend is concerned. It's not overbought, it's not oversold. It's on the higher end of these yearly pivots as well, near the R4. So everything looks really good. Next year's yearly pivots, which will print on January 1st, will expand significantly because price expanded significantly. VPVR support's non-existent basically until, really around 12K sats, but 28K sats, there's a little bit of that. And looking at VPVR on the USD pair, there's really no support until 450-ish. This yearly pivot, basically the previous all-time high, is super important. Should price, should all this trend collapse, 450, $5 is going to be super important. And then lastly, looking at Link ETH, again, massive bull trend since 2018. Really no VPVR support to speak of until way down here. I do suspect that with some of this ETH 2.0 stuff coming, ETH may begin to outperform Link. There's a really tight squeeze here. The 50 and the 200 are just clamping down on each other. So if this does bear cross, it'll be the first bear cross since 2018. And if there's some continuation below 021 ETH to the downside, I think it might get bloody for Link, especially if the fundamental stuff, the selling continues, etc. Supply gets unlocked. I think ETH may start to take over if ETH goes to 750 or ETH doubles from here. There's a case to be made that the Link strength versus ETH may be waning soon. So overall, trend still looks good. Be careful with the fundamentals. Be careful what the Link bots and Link community tell you about selling. Doesn't matter. The market doesn't care. It's all about supply and demand.